Hey there, Mudder Nation. It's Dave, aka Mindset by Dave, here with another Mudder Minds Mental Health Monday. So, we've probably all heard the expression, it's all in your head, right? And though that is one of the most dismissive expressions there is out there, it is true that sometimes we build a problem up to be bigger in our head than it actually is. It's actually also true sometimes that we diminish a problem and push it to one side. But today we're talking about that first case. And in particular, I want to talk to you about the difference between when we used to take calls on this thing, the home phone, looks a little bit like a mobile, doesn't it, or a cell phone for the American audience, and now how we take it on the mobile or cell phone. So I want you to think back to the time before the cell phone, the mobile phone came along, and think about when you try and phone a friend after school on a Friday night. And let's say they didn't answer, what would be the first thing you would assume that was the case? You'd probably think something along the lines of, oh, they're busy, they're having their dinner, they're on the toilet. And remember a time that we didn't take our phones in the toilets with us? It's like, and then what you do is you put the phone down, you put that house phone down, and you go about getting on with your day. The whole story would be about them. They were busy, they weren't available, and it was never anything to do with us. We'd go back, we'd watch our favourite TV programme, watch those cartoons, and whatever it may be. We'd maybe then go back to school on the Monday and then see that person, everything would be fine. No drama whatsoever, they were busy. Now, this thing comes along, the mobile or the cell. That comes along and it changes absolutely everything, because when you phone someone on this and they don't answer, what's the first thing you assume now? So you might assume they're ignoring me. That's actually the lower end of what people assume. But then we get a little bit bigger. It's like, oh, they hate me. They've got a problem with me. You start racking your brain. What did I do the last time I was with them? And instead of putting that phone down, assuming they're busy and getting back on with your life, we're checking this thing every few seconds. Have they called me back? Have they checked it? Have they seen it? And that's if we just go with a phone call and it stops there. But it doesn't, does it? We then go into WhatsApp and then we're like, hi, trying to get hold of you, give me a shout when you're free, send. And then we look at it, stare at it, burning our holes into it with our eyes, looking at that, the one grey tick, the two grey ticks, the two blue ticks. They've seen it. Not only have they got it, but now they've seen it. Great. We're going to get a response soon. It's going to be fantastic. And then we wait. And nothing happens. And now we look at that phone every few seconds. We are not getting on with our lives. We are looking at that phone. We are wondering when they're going to respond to us. And we're telling ourselves all sorts of stories up here. Oh, they really hate me. Like, they're so annoyed with me. What did I do the last time I was speaking to them? And then, if we're lucky, we stop there. But quite a lot of times, we'll get this app back up again. Go on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram and we'll go to that person's story. We'll look at what they're doing right now. And before all this current situation, when we were all able to go out, what they were doing right now, when we looked at that, was things like they might have been out with somebody else. They might have been busy. They might have been doing other things. And instead of going, oh, okay, they're busy, they're doing something else, they go, they're ignoring me and they're out with that person. And that person's such an idiot. Insert your favourite insult here. And now we get comparison and we start thinking, we start feeling that we're the worst person in the world. And that goes on and on and on. And we feel like that until the next time we see that person. And when we see that person, just like in the first story, everything was fine most of the time. But unlike in the first story, we have now obsessed and worried and tormented ourselves for the entire weekend, or the entire time it's been between that first message and us getting a response or us seeing that person. And we have lived out this reality that they hate us, when in reality, they don't. Now, have you ever received a message on here when you're just on the way into the gym, just on your way into work, just on your way into a video call, whatever it might be, dropping the kids off at school, and you've opened the message, seen it from someone that you really appreciate, and you go, oh, that requires a bit more than a yes or no. I'll get back to that later, and you put the phone back down. Ever forgotten? You know you have. And it wasn't because you hated the person or that you'd rather be with the person that you were with than reply to that. It was just that you were busy at that time, and then the notification goes and you forgot. In fact, you actually valued that person so much to want to give them a proper response, not just a quick emoji or a quick yes or no. And because the notification's gone, we forget about it. Now, is it safe to assume that maybe when you're sending someone else a message or giving someone else a call, chances are it might just be that they're busy too? Now, we can assume one, we can assume the other, but let me tell you what assuming each one of them does. Assuming that they hate you, it means that whether they do or they don't, you are going to suffer in that period until you find out. And the same is true when you assume that they're busy. When you assume that they're busy, just like we all did back with the house phone, between the period of then and when you actually next see that person, you're going to go about the rest of your life getting on with it. And in my opinion, if the person actually does hate you, and you're going to actually have to deal with that, and that's like, we're talking like a 0.0005% chance of that actually happening. But what does dealing with it all weekend and torturing yourself with it all that time actually accomplish? It doesn't change what happens when you see that person again. It just makes you suffer now. It just takes away your joy in the moment that you're in. Doesn't change the future, just impacts your present. So what I want you to do is actually teach yourself to assume the best case scenario in every situation, to assume they are busy, to think, how can I look at this differently? Is the way I'm telling myself this story helping me, or is it hurting me? And start to take those thoughts to court, to analyze it and see whether you can tell yourself a better story. And this one, they're busy. You put the phone down, just like we did back in the day. You go about the rest of your day. I'll see you soon.